Here we go. Morning.
Morning. Hey, just talking to you yesterday about a couple different ideas, but let's boil it down to a simpler version of it. We sit down and talk about a lot of these different, everything that's happening right now. And we can have these wrap sessions and talk about real estate and valuation and all the things that we know are important. And we look around and listen to other agents talking about how, Zillow is acquiring Showing Time and CoStar is going to acquire CoreLogic. And meanwhile, the viewer's going, I don't give a shit. I don't care about this stuff. I just don't. And I don't blame them. It's basically an idea where we look and we go, okay, what do they really care about? Like, and let's focus the conversations on that. And let's invite them to say, hey, look, here's what I could really use. I can only speak for myself. I'm just another asshole with a microphone and a camera that can put this stuff out there with you. This is about a lot of the message and the following you have. So what are we talking about? Where do we go with this?
Well, ultimately, I mean, we feel like we have some important things to say, but it really doesn't mean anything to the consumer if it has no relevance. It's kind of like when somebody comes to us or when somebody goes to an agent and they're looking to buy real estate, it's usually really not even about buying real estate, in my opinion. It's usually that they've reached a goal or they've reached a milestone in their life, and they feel like the next logical step, maybe in a relationship, maybe consummating a relationship, maybe they've gotten married, is buying that home. So having somebody come at them and push back a little bit and say, hey, maybe it's not the right time to buy. Are we actually squashing their dreams?
Well, it feels that way. It sounds like you've talked about in the past, looking at homes when you were first getting married and everything else, and the emotion that's involved with that. So it's important to acknowledge that. We can still introduce, market levels and things like that. Let them decide. As long as they're making an informed decision, then it is what it is. Let them do what they do, as long as they're making an educated decision moving forward.
And maybe there's kind of somebody's got this dream of owning a home, and that's part of their next step that they need to take. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Quite possibly it's listening to what we have to say in regard to real estate and building wealth, and utilizing a multifamily or a three family, somewhere in Pawcatuck or somewhere,
Yeah.
And having somebody else actually pay down your mortgage so that you're financially in a different position. Again, I think we're here you and I are very similar in that if we don't feel like we can add extreme value to somebody, I just don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be out there just showing properties and unlocking doors for people. It's not my thing. If I don't feel like I can add more value than somebody else in whatever it is that I'm doing, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. And if I've talked too much, just tell me to stop. But
go.
Look at, when I got started in this industry, and I've told you this story before, when I came to the area, I didn't feel like I could add value because I didn't know the area. And I've told you the story before. My dad and I at the time, we went out on a boat and we took photos of all the different waterfront communities, and we studied them. Then we drove the waterfront communities. We learned which communities offer what. For example, Wampausick Point offers properties in excess of 2 acres that are 3,000 square feet and up. And the only other place you can typically find that in this area is Old Black Point. But you learn the 56 waterfront communities up and down the coast all the way to Brantford. We did that with subdivisions. We did it with school districts. And finally, after a while, I felt like I could actually add value regarding where I was located. And it never stopped from there. We said, okay, are people offering floor plans? So we did those on our own. Are people offering aerial photography? No. So we did that. Now a lot of that you can hire out and you can get from companies like Planomatic. So we're constantly trying to add more and more value. And if I ever get to the point where I think that I can't add more value than the typical person that's out there, I'm out of the game.
Yeah, no, understood. And I get that. It's at the same time, it's like we can have more, add more and more value. But we still have to recognize our tendencies to kind of squash somebody's. I'm behind the bar last night listening to this young kid go, I'm going to buy a house. Rates are super low right now. And instantly I go to, you're nuts. I got to stop myself and go, just listen to what he wants to do first. I didn't say a word. I just kind of listened and let it kind of pass. And last few weeks, I do more and more of having conversations with people where I find myself focusing on just shut up for a second, just listen, because
I interject. Defense, I'm going to cut you off. To your defense, you're probably one of the best listeners that I've ever met. So,
but I can still spot when I jump in and I'm kind of like, and I just go, wait a second, let them talk. Okay. I can't stand when people cut you off. They're not listening. They're just waiting to talk. It pisses me off to no end. But look, I think we can boil this down to the simplest level for this conversation. In order to connect with people on a professional level, we need to do it on a personal level first. Find out where they're coming from, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, and go from there. And just, I don't care if it's baseline stuff, like, hey, Islanders are on tomorrow night, baby. They're playing the Bruins again. We're going to knock them out. It's just stuff like that. They either love you or hate you, but you create a bond. I do it at the bar all the time. And
somebody calls you and says, I've got a pile of Bitcoin. I don't know what to do with it. Can I purchase real estate with it?
Yeah.
Everybody has different, we're getting really creative things. Somebody has, commercial real estate, I need a cash flow.
Yeah.
I want to buy a second home. And the reason for that second home has nothing to do with an investment. It's the fact that their kids have moved out of the house. One, maybe the one lives in Boston, one lives in New York, and our area is right smack dab in the middle. And they just want a place where they can meet for the holidays and keep that family together as one.
Yeah. These days too, you might see somebody taking on more house than they actually should probably have. But under the circumstances right now, you might not realize that they might have people moving in with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Loss of jobs, loss of home, everything. God knows what could happen, but we got to drill down deeper and get the bigger story so that we don't just jump to value and numbers and say, you're doing the wrong thing. And just look and go, no. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. So like I said, connect on a personal level first, create a baseline relationship. Then you can pivot toward the value stuff and then go from there.
And the beautiful thing is it seems like all members, the one characteristic that all members on our team have is that they truly care. So I don't think that's something that has to be forced. I think sometimes in order to me personally, feel like I'm adding value to somebody, I almost need to dig a little deeper and tell them why they shouldn't potentially purchase or sell, which may not be their objective at all, where you're right. We just need to listen more.
Well, having that value conversation might be the second or third conversation in a much larger dialogue. So I think that's the takeaway from this, and we go from here.
We're taking. Appreciate it. All right. We'll talk to you.